What is up, guys? It is Quinn here, back with another video, and over the next few days I'm basically going to be putting out my fantasy football rankings. So we'll be going through the running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, and then I'll be going through my overall rankings. Try to get these out in the next 2, 3, 4 days. Not exactly positive how I'm going to split it up, but in today's video I'll be going through my top 60 running backs. To be completely honest with you, there's not going to be a ton of player evaluation in this video. Going through 60 running backs, we'd be here for like hours if I was going through every single player. So maybe I'll just point out some general trends, maybe areas where players are like back to back to back. But this is kind of like a rough estimate of what my rankings are looking like right now. It's possible they shift a little bit before the NFL season starts, but at this point, these are what my rankings are. This is what's in like all my documents, all of this stuff. And this is the last video I'm going to be doing for fantasy football rankings for this offseason. So let's just jump right into it. So starting off with the first 12, I have Christian McCaffrey number 1, Jonathan Taylor number 2. Those two are pretty consensus top 2. You can flip them however you want. I shoot for the upside. Then I have kind of like the second tier filled with Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, and Derrick Henry. I feel like you could flip those players around in a few different orders. Pretty sure early on in the offseason, I had Eckler at 3, then I had Eckler at 5. I've switched Henry, I've switched Cook. They're all kind of in a similar position for me. Then we get to this next kind of bigger tier. I think some people may be surprised with how high I have Swift and Kamara and maybe even Barkley. I think typically you see Mixon and Harris go in front of those three. I have them all in a very similar tier. Also, I don't think I talked about this at the top, but this is going to be for PPR scoring. So this kind of comes in play here with DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley. They just have that elite upside that I'm not sure Joe Mixon can get to, and I'm not sure Najee Harris can get to. I feel like Najee Harris can have that receiving role, but I just feel like this offense is going to be very inefficient for the Steelers. So I have that Swift, Kamara, Barkley, Mixon, Harris group. It's kind of a tier for me. And then right behind those guys, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones, those two are pretty close together in my opinion as well. Now we're getting into my RB2s, RB13 through RB14. I'm higher on James Conner than consensus, and then probably lower on Javonte Williams. I have Travis Etienne sliding in there at 15. For me, I just think Conner has the upside to be a 3-down back on a really strong offense. I don't think Javonte Williams has that in his immediate range of outcomes. If something happens to Melvin Gordon, then I think he could step into that role, but I just don't want to be drafting someone at the 2-3 turn when I don't know they have a lockdown, like 3-down skill set. Then we're looking at Travis Etienne here at 15. I have him ahead of Nick Chubb. I do feel like a lot of people are not going to be a big fan of that. For me, I just don't think Nick Chubb is a league-winning player. I think Nick Chubb is a player who is going to be on a lot of fourth-place teams, maybe third-place teams, fifth-place teams. I just don't think Nick Chubb has that ceiling to take your win probability from like 8.3% all the way up to, a 12, a 15. I just don't think he's going to have this massive ceiling, especially when Deshaun Watson is suspended for a large chunk of the season. So that's why he's a little bit lower than I think some people would expect. 17, we go to Ezekiel Elliott. I think pretty in line with consensus there. Breece Hall at 18. And then I think there's a pretty significant fall off after Breece Hall. We've got the Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins. Dillon is thrown in there as like not the leader of his backfield, but potentially, a solid week-to-week play with crazy upside if Aaron Jones goes down. And then David Montgomery, Elijah Mitchell. And then I throw Tony Pollard in there, kind of like a slightly lesser version of A.J. Dillon on that Cowboys offense. So those are my RB2s. Then as we're jumping into my RB3s, I kind of go from not loving the value of a lot of those RB2s in drafts to being, decently interested in drafting these RB3s. So we started off here with Josh Jacobs. I think his ADP is going to vary on where you're drafting. He's not someone I want to be going after in the first 6 rounds, but if we're getting into round 7, round 8, totally willing to draft Josh Jacobs. At 26, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he's going to be leading this Chiefs backfield. Just possesses some upside in that sense. You have Pacheco coming in as the backup. I think overall that's probably net good news for Clyde Edwards-Helaire because some people thought Rojo was going to come in, take over the starting job. At this point in the offseason, it seems like CEH is going to be the guy there. Then we have a lot of these running backs in a similar tier. Chase Edmonds, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders. Then we're getting into some ambiguous backfields. Ramondre Stevenson, I like him over Damian Harris. I like Dameon Pierce here at RB31. Then guys in like split backfields, Melvin Gordon, James Cook, have Cordero Patterson, and then we have Rashad Penny and Damian Harris rounding out the RB3s. A lot of these players are kind of tough to distinguish between. Do you take a Rashad Penny over Cordero Patterson? Where does Damian Harris factor in there? When we jump into the RB4s, is Devin Singletary leading that backfield? Is he splitting with Zach Moss? Is James Cook the most valuable back? There's a lot of kind of question marks with these players. You see Antonio Gibson here at RB38, much lower on Antonio Gibson than consensus. I'm not picking him in the first 100 picks of drafts. He's someone I'm pretty off of at this point. It doesn't even look like he's going to have like that early down role that he's had the last few years. So Gibson's an RB4 in my opinion. Then we get into Kenneth Walker, likely behind Rashad Penny, dealing with an injury right now. And then we're starting to get into some of these handcuff backs. Darrell Henderson, Alexander Madison, Rachaad White. All three of those players hold the handcuff role to very, very valuable offenses. You've got the Rams, you have the Vikings, and then you have the Buccaneers. All really strong offenses who will give big workloads to their backups. Then we've got Nyheim Hines. And then we're starting to get into some of these lesser handcuffs. James Robinson, Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, and then Brian Robinson finishes up our RB4s. And now when we're getting into the RB5s, a lot of these guys are dart throws, even lesser handcuffs, starting it off with Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Spiller, currently injured, may not be the number 2 back now. We've got Tyler Algier thrown in here at RB51. Maybe he can carve out a role kind of alongside Cordero Patterson as like their, 1A, 1B out of the backfield there. Obviously not going to have the same receiving production as a Cordero Patterson. We've got Jamal Williams, backup for the Lions, McKissick, potential pass down work, then guys like Zamir White, Ty Davis Price, Mark Ingram. As you guys can see, potential number 2s, maybe older number 2s, Raheem Mostert, Dearness Johnson. He's someone who could have a decent role if Kareem Hunt is traded or cut. As of right now, doesn't have a ton of value. Gus Edwards, still not back from that ACL. And then finishing it out with Marlon Mack. So that is my top 60 running backs. Let me know what you guys think about these players down below in the comment section. I kind of just want to wrap up this video by talking about my general philosophy with these running backs. So typically in drafts, the value that I see, I like drafting running backs first and second round. That doesn't mean I'm 100% locked in. Like it doesn't mean every single draft I'm going running back. I like my wide receivers in the first round. I like Jefferson. I like Kupp. I like Chase. I'm cool with Devontae and Stephon Diggs back into the first round. But compared to like rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, like round 1 and 2, I'm very comfortable with the ADP of a lot of running backs. When we're getting into round 3, I'm cool taking a falling Fournette. I'm cool to take a falling Saquon. Likely not going to see that in competitive leagues, but like ESPN leagues, he's totally there. And if we're talking like mid to late, I'm cool to go after a Javonte Williams, a Nick Chubb. They're typically not going there though. So if we're looking at mid to back into the third, guys like James Conner, Travis Etienne, I'm cool with that. And then I'm cool with a Ezekiel Elliott, Breece Hall, 4th round. Other than that, I'm pretty much fading like the Akers, Montgomery, Gibson maybe thrown in there, probably not anymore. These players where it's like they just seem like locked in dead zone guys. But once that dead zone ends and we're getting into the Clyde Edwards-Helaire's, the Chase Edmonds, I'm cool kind of buying back in. And then I'm fine throwing darts on some of these handcuff guys, Madison, Rachaad White, Darrell Henderson. Totally cool on that. So that's how I'm viewing the running back position. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll do wide receivers tomorrow. And then just thinking about it, I'll probably do like a combination of quarterbacks and tight ends because those videos normally don't do as well. Plus, it's obviously not going to be like top 60 quarterbacks. That would be totally pointless. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one.